there are some functions that we can use that are helpful for when we very first read in our data. And that's to kind of get an idea of what our data looks like and what type of data we're working with, what our column names are, etc. So looking at specifically this MT cars data set, we might have read it in, and now we're curious how the columns are named. I know that I use this function quite frequently to make sure I'm spelling column names right or variable names, that they're capitalized correctly, all of that. And so we can use the names function. The only argument it takes is our data frame. And if we were to run that, it spits out down here in your console the names of the columns, your variable names. So this is a quick way of looking at it while you're in the same window as your script. You could always come over here to your environment, click on the data frame and see it up here. But then this is in a separate tab as your script. And so, keeping all the spelling correct could be challenging. Here you can just copy paste. Also, if you have a whole bunch of variables, this will list them all out. Whereas, looking at that data frame view, it'll show you the first 50. And then sometimes you can click over and sometimes R doesn't want you to click over. So this is one way. Another useful function is called structure, or STR. And what that does is it tells you what the structure of the data are. So are your data strings? Are they numbers? Are they factors? Are you working with a data frame? Are you working with a matrix? What are you working with? And so here, if we were to run structure and data frame, we get this output. And at the very first line up here says, hey, you're working with a data frame. You have 32 observations, so 32 rows, of 11 variables. So, okay, we've got 11 variables, we've got 32 observations. That's what we're working with. And then it lists out each of your variables, and it lists out what type of variable it is. So all of these are numeric variables. And then over here, it lists a little bit of a preview kind of the data in each of those variables. So this would be useful, to take a quick peek at your data frame and say, hey, I'm planning on using cylinder right here as a grouping variable in an ANOVA. I see that it's numeric, so I'm probably going to have to change it to a factor in order to be able to properly group things. So you just know that from the start. And then when you have very, very long data frames, hundreds of rows, thousands of rows, and you just want to look at the first little bit of it, or take a peek to make sure that when you added a column, it actually added it how you thought it should. You can make use of something called the head function. And what that does is it shows you the first 6 rows of your data frame. And, these are each of the rows. Here are our columns. Here are the values in it. And so this can be handy if, you created a sum variable and you're just like, I just want to check if I did that right, but I don't want to have to load in the entire data set. I'll just take a peek at it. You can use this function. And then similarly, the tail function looks at the last 6 rows. And this is the last 6 rows. So maybe if you added a row to a data frame, you could take a peek here to make sure that it worked as you had intended. And, just kind of using these both to get acquainted with your data. And again, this names function I use quite frequently to make sure I'm spelling things correctly.